What's going on, everybody? Anthony Campo here, your coach and host of the Be Battle Ready podcast. And today's a special episode because it's my birthday. And I want to know, are you winning the battle of the time warp? The question is, what does it take to build a battle ready business? What does it take to dial in your marketing, sales, fulfillment, and leadership so that you can go to war in the marketplace and win? My name is Anthony Campo, your host and chief coach at Battle Ready Business. This is the Be Battle Ready podcast, Daily Battle Edition. And on a daily basis, we're going to take a deep dive look at what it takes to win in the marketplace. So sit back, relax, and I'll see you on the other side. All right. So today is my birthday. And, when I got up early this morning and started doing some reflection, I started to think back along the lines of like how far and how fast things have come. And, just kind of reference point, I look back to looking at, I'm 38 today. And I look back and I'm like, I got married 6 years ago. But that 6 years ago doesn't seem like that far off. And I was like comparing it to how old I was then. I was 32 and, we celebrated our 6-year anniversary last month. And I'm like, man, like that to me right now, I feel like I was so young then. And how fast things have moved. And I think back to a year prior, I started working with one of my first coaches, my first fitness coaches, in the functional fitness space, James Fitzgerald. And I remember back and how long ago that was. And I was like, man, I was young. I was 31. And how fast things have moved. And then, my son's going to be, in February, he's going to be 4 years old. And I'm like, man, 4 years ago, about that time, that was 2016. I was still 34. And I was like, man, that is so fast. Things move so fast. And it got me to think and wonder, are you winning? Am I winning the time warp? The time warp of how fast things can move. And winning it is how you can leverage that time warp and get a lot done and make big things happen in that time warp, right? And then also how you can just sit back and allow the time warp to take advantage of you. Allow time and that to pass you by, right? Because things move so fast. And, I'm 100% grateful for my life, for my kids, for my house, for my family, for my wife, and the opportunities that we have. But, if I go back to when I was 31 and I go, well, I was like, I could not imagine things, right? I had that same coach ask me, hey, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And it hasn't been 10 years, but I could not not actually bring that or build that. It actually shut me down and it stifled me. I shut down to it because I had resistance in that moment of being asked that. And now I look back and I'm like, man, I could see what he was asking me. What he was asking me to try to do, and I was resistant to it. Not because I was stubborn. I was just scared. I was fearful. I didn't believe. I look back over that, and and I'm like, I know now the importance of that. We can't really paint a picture of exactly digitally to the actual pixel of what things are going to be, but not doing it, I could see what I've missed out on. And, this is a principle that I will, I want to talk about more of the next couple, in the future, but is balancing off of, side note, balancing a principle of, balancing positivity and looking at the negativity and things. But basically what I'm looking at, I'm looking back and, it's a new training that I'm going to introduce to my students inside my coaching program is a birthday protocol. And this birthday protocol has to do with taking inventory of all the amazing things that you have, all the amazing things that you've done, right? Over the last year, and even reference pointing where you are at in your life. Because if you had asked me in my 20s and early 30s of where I'd want to be, I have to be honest, like I felt like deep down I was capable of so much more. But the thing is I didn't have the reps. I didn't have the time and all that. But the biggest thing is that at the same time is that I could see this. I can understand deep down that I was capable of so much more. I didn't truly believe. And looking back, that this is important, taking a reference point. Like, hey, are you 30 years old? Are you 40 years old? Like, where do you want to be at that point? Are you where, if you're there right now at 40, are you where you, my bad, are you where you picture yourself to be? If you look back 10 years, did you see yourself in this position? And I believe it's important because you need to use this as fuel if you are or are not. If you are looking at yourself right now and you're like, man, this isn't where I want to be. And you might not be in a bad place. Not at all. And I don't come at this from a negative sense. I want that. We need at times to feel the sting of things, right? Even though if we're in a good place, yeah, we appreciate the positivity, and I'm not saying to throw you in and be this throw you in this victims and wallow in the shit of this, but I say this because like part of this birthday protocol is taking inventory of where you're at. Did you see yourself a year ago where you are today, or are you ahead of your curve? Or are you behind your curve, right? And then taking inventory to appreciate and appreciate everything in your life that's good. Take an inventory, just like if you were counting the stock at a store. Take inventory of it, but also take inventory of what you missed. And some people will tell you to be positive and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. But you also got to look at that other stuff because the positivity is fuel, but the sting of miss, the sting of loss is also fuel. So part of this is taking inventory of where you're at. What do you appreciate about your current life? What are you proud of yourself about over the last year? What have you done positive? What have you faced that's positive, that you've overcome, that you've actually, rose above your current, your prior abilities and rose above that? And, now go into how you feel about everything. How do you feel about where you're at? How do you feel about the wins, the losses, the ties? The times you showed up, the times you didn't show up. It's all right. No one's perfect. And, now you got to look into the future. Right? What do you want to do a year from now? Who do you want to be on your next birthday? Take inventory. What's amazing about the things that, when I was thinking about, obviously I'm creating this for myself, but I also want to create this for you. Taking inventory of, really the times I didn't rise up to my fears or my insecurities. And, times when I hid from my vulnerabilities and just glossed them over. And that's why I say, if you're just focused on the positive, congratulations. But, if you don't shine the light on the negative, it's just going to hang around. You've got to face it. You've got to look at it and so that you could basically take inventory of it and then build a plan over this next year to take it down. See, that's the thing about, this whole process is, you're starting from today, right? And you're looking forward. And you're like, look, I appreciate everything I did. This is amazing that I did over the last year. These are all the things that were a part of my life that were absolutely amazing. But here's the things that, I'm not 100% happy with. And give yourself grace and space to say it's okay. And then recommit yourself to saying, hey, I've got this inventory, I've got this list, and week by week, I'm going to prioritize these week by week, month by month. I'm going to lay these out into a systematic plan of how to take them down. This might be in your fitness, in your body, that you might be overweight or you might be not as fit as you want. For me, over the last year, I haven't really, I've checked the box for the most part of my fitness. I've done it, but I haven't showed up with enthusiasm and power. So that means I didn't show up to my full ability. See, you might not be in a bad place. You might be in an okay place. And okay is just as, being okay is it's just a little bit better than bad, right? But you're not living. If it's just good, there's more. There's more to learn outside of good, chasing great. And then inside your spirituality, I look back a year ago from today, my spirituality and where I've shifted and my faith in God and my understanding of God, my relationship has changed. I grew up in going from a second grade to eighth grade, 1 year hiatus in there, going to a Southern Baptist Christian school, going to youth group on Wednesdays, going to church on Sundays by myself. Not because of my parents or anything like that. A lot of times I went by myself, and, some of the things that happened during that process and the judgment and, the misalignment and people are people, but I rejected that, and I had my own selfishness why I rejected it. So for a long time, up until this last couple of years, I was like, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. And inside of that statement, a lot of people say that. Inside of that statement is a lie. Inside of that statement for me was a lie. The lie was I wasn't telling the truth that this is why I'm in this position. I have questions. I have this. I have that. Right? And then in my relationship, if I look back a year from today, in the relationship with my wife, and the growth that we've had in the last year. And it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and hearts, if you're going to grow together as a couple, you're going to have to, to push through some stuff. You're going to have to overcome some stuff together. And then my sons, who am I as a father? A year ago, my son was only about a year old, my youngest son. And seeing how much he's grown and our relationship started to grow. In the last couple of weeks, I started taking my sons out on a weekly date. And prior, my excuse was they really didn't understand it or whatever. And that was an excuse. And, my son, my oldest son's is slightly on the spectrum, and he's getting better and it's easier to connect with him. And those of you have anybody that have kids on the spectrum, sometimes it's hard for them to connect with you. But those are my lives. But now I'm taking them. And then in business, a year ago, I was questioning who I was as a coach. Who was I as a business? I was in or out, not 100% all in. So I share this with you. I get vulnerable and raw with you because This is how you have to do it, because I could look at like, okay, where am I at today? You know, where's the growth that I happened? Where did I not show up? And the areas that I didn't show up, I can go, okay, I don't like that I didn't show up there. Okay? So this is how I want to show up. You get clear, you shine the light, and when you shine the light in that place, in that thing that you're resisting, that you're hiding from, you know, the path to where you want to go, to path to where you can become better, it becomes clear, right? And then you can systematically, easily, just day by day, chip away at that. Prioritize what you're going to work on and go from it. So, I would love for anybody that does this protocol, right? You know, first off, like write your age down, right? And then ask yourself, am I where I want to be, and be 100%. Don't give me this fucking bullshit of I'm good. Be honest with yourself. Tell yourself the fucking truth. You might have, it might be good, and you might be living in abundance or prosperity in a few different areas, but get real with yourself. You might have everything externally that you want, but you might be doing a job you fucking hate. Or you might be doing a job you love, but the rest of your fucking life is burning. And you feel guilty for complaining and saying, this is not what I want. Do not allow that guilt to come up and let you tell a fucking lie. Be truthful. And it's a simple question of yes or no. There's no maybe. There's no yes, but. Once you hear yes, but, you need to tell the truth. Like, are you where you want to be today? In your fitness, in your health, in your spirituality, relationship with God, in your relationship with your family and your friends and your community, and how you earn money. Like, are you in those areas? Are you where you want to be? And it sucks. Like, I ask myself, am I where I want to be? Yes or no? And I have to be truthful. No. And then I go into those categories and I can get clear, yes or no. And then once you hear yes or no, if you hear no, then you got to ask yourself, why not? And take inventory. And then the next phase of this is take inventory of what you appreciate and what you are proud of that has happened. And then you make a list. You make a list. You have two lists. You have the good. You have the stuff you don't like, the bad. Let's call it that. The naughty list and the bad list. The good list and the bad list. And then you look at your good list and say, hey, what am I willing to either double down on in this, continue on doing? And then on your bad list, like, what are the top 3 things that you're going to do in the next 90 days that you need to take down? That, what's month 1? Priority number 1. What's month 2? Priority number 2. What's month 3? Priority number 3. So if it's in your fitness and you're like, hey, I need to lose weight. I feel like a fat shit. I don't like how I look. This is what I'm going to do. And once you master that month, it becomes a part of your routine and becomes part of your habit. Because when you start a new habit and you start practicing that habit, eventually it becomes part of your code. Right? That's the way I look at it. I use starting a practice as aka a habit, to rewrite my code, to rewrite my own operating system. So, and then start laying that out over the next 90 days. What are you going to work on? What are you going to take down first? See, the thing is this isn't about goals, right? This isn't a goal. This isn't a target. This is like, look, this is a piece of me that I feel is missing, that I feel I can strengthen. I can shore up. See, if you focus on that, you know, the rest comes, right? Like if we take the analogy of working out and fitness, and you're great at endurance and cardio, but you're weak, right? Like, let's just talk about that. Like, that's an analogy for your overall life. And what we're talking about is, you know, you could be a great aerobically fit and like, but you could lack the strength, right? And then in somewhere, that's going to be a detriment at some point to yourself. That's going to limit you of what you're able to accomplish. So, yeah. So real wrap up. You know, are you where you want? Are you where you want to be right now? Yes or no? Right? Are you where? And then find out your all your areas of your life. Yes or no? Take the inventory. Good. Here's what I really appreciate and what I love about it. Here's the bad. Here's what I'm going to prioritize in the next 90 days. Here's where I see myself and what I'm committed to becoming in the next year. So what I'd like you to do is if you choose to do that, just go ahead and send that over to me. I'd love to look at it. I'd love to see what you have. It'd be a great education for me as well. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to you soon. This concludes another episode of the Be Battle Ready Podcast, Daily Battle Edition. If you're a business owner with 3 to 20 people and you want to build a battle ready business so that you can go to war in the marketplace and win, head over to battlereadybusiness.com/go to get the conversation started. Other than that, I'll see you next time.